Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Everyone, welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 7128328001. And if you are in the U.K., 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 Facebook in the main watch. When the church urges those abused by their own to come forward. And in the second watch, will there be two societies? Those who take the shot and those who don't. For our Facebook question, we ask, what would you say accounts for the sexual misconduct of any pastor? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program. But first, here's our quote.
And this morning, I quote states, "Spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier." Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa said that, sir?
Yes, sir. Spread love everywhere you go, sir. Everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, everywhere we go. The main watch will be back after this break.
Peaches, Marky house they flood out, no? It look like it a kin popalik to you.
What? Marky, your house I go and see.
And me, man, bury the barometer. We still a bill right up against the sea, down in a riverbed and Pan Gully side. This climate change thing now ramping up. Rain like trouble when it do fall. And the sea level rise up too. That spell flooding. Bill where water no go. I just saw smart and steady get.
Visit PPCRJA on Facebook for more on climate change.
I always do my best to stay in control of my expenses. So with Flow, I added my mobile to my home internet service and elevated my savings. I get 50% off my mobile plan each month. Yeah, man, I get a simple, predictable mobile bill of $1,600 plus GCT and never sign a contract nor made a deposit. And you can get this too. Add your mobile to your Flow home internet for elevated savings of 50% off your mobile plan each month. Visit the Flow store or discoverflow.co to sign up today.
When all is done and said, love me shorty bread. You love me shorty what? You love me shorty bread. And it was made by Honey Bun. You love me shorty bread.
Hello and welcome back to the Morning Watch. I am Stokely Marshall. Now, the Jamaica Council of Churches, JCC, in a recent Jamaica Observer, July 20th article, just yesterday, is urging victims who have suffered abuse by clergymen or clergy persons to come forward with their stories and to not be afraid. And this in relation to various types of abuse. And it begs the question, is the church seeking to reconcile with itself and be accountable in this area? We have online this morning to discuss this very crucial, disturbing, and delicate and sensitive and concerning topic. Pastor Dion Lindo, She is pastor of Shalom Deliverance Center in Mineral Heights. Mineral Heights. We also have Pastor Courtney Morrison. He is pastor of Fellowship Tabernacle in Portmore. He is chairman of Mogava, Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. He's also the chief executive officer of Left, Wrong, Do Right movement, of the Left, Wrong, Do Right movement. And of course, many listeners will know Pastor Courtney as being a beloved host or co-host of the Mailbox right here at Love 101 FM. Good morning, Pastor Lindo and Pastor Courtney. How are you both?
A pleasant morning to you. I'm fine, thanks.
Pastor
Good morning.
Courtney.
Good morning. I'm here off on a little rest, but I hear that duty calls, so I have to be here. Good morning, Jamaica. Good morning, Pastor Lindo.
Good morning, Pastor.
Always a pleasure having you, Pastor Courtney, and welcome, Pastor Dion Lindo. I do not know if it's the first time you're on the morning watch, but if it is, welcome. If it is not, welcome again. And
That's first time.
it is your first time indeed. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, you know, this particular story or item of news printed in the Jamaica Observer yesterday. I'll read the caption. Jamaica Council of Churches urges individuals abused by clergymen to come forward. In fact, it reads JCC urges individuals abused by clergymen to come forward. I'll read just a little bit of it. The story is by Ramarda Lyons, Observer staff reporter. Just yesterday, July 20th, the Jamaica Council of Churches, JCC, is urging victims who have suffered abuse by clergymen to come forward with their stories and to not be afraid. The call comes in light of an uptick in such cases in recent times. Maybe it's an uptick in reported cases, but more on that. And also from concern that individuals have been suffering in silence, lest they will not be believed. And the story continues, and there is a quote, for example, from Reverend Newton Dixon. He's the president of the JCC. Only because of time, we can't go into it right now. Now, first of all, Pastor Courtney, I'm going to start with you, sir. We are very concerned at what we are seeing here. For instance, it does beg the question, how did we get here? And why is it that we are seeing some of these things begin to rock the clergy and the church as a whole? And, our churches, in a nutshell, sort of hiding these incidences of sexual misconduct. And I'm not saying it to bash the church, but this is now a matter clearly of national concern. Pastor Courtney, what, if any, is your response to those questions?
All right, thank you, Sir Stokely. It is a matter for concern. It is a matter, even as you said, it may be that it is more reported now in terms of an uptick. And yes, there are many suffering in silence. There are many who, many relative to what we're talking about. It is a matter that we need to look at closely. I also noted that Sir Newton Dixon, who is a good friend of mine, had also said that, I'm hoping I have it right, if it's him or another report, that what we need to do is to do more education and certification of our pastors. I'm not sure how much of a solution that will be, because when we look in the wider arena, we see we're in a larger setting. There are many boys who have suffered sexual abuse at the hands of clergy. and they are well educated, intelligent individuals. So it's a matter of character that we are trying to address and looking at in terms of what we see in society, especially it would seem for our men who seem to be the greatest or greater of the two genders in terms of perpetrating the crimes. And so is the church hiding it? Also a question. I think the church has had a method of trying to privately deal with matters, not necessarily hiding matters, but in terms of how it will affect family, how it will affect others, you know, especially in a day and age with social media being so rife, that it's not a matter of a cover up or hiding in most cases. Let me say in most, not in all, but because we have seen an incident here in Jamaica where it would seem as if by reports that it was trying to be covered over by payments. And so it's a matter of the church trying, I think, at times to not allow family to go through any further trauma or even greater trauma than being experienced already. You know, domestic violence, gender abuse violence, intimate partner violence also happens in the church. And so these are matters that in terms of counseling, in terms of sitting with individuals, we have to help to resolve. It is a matter that happens in society, and pastors themselves must recognize that they are human beings, even although they are filled with the Holy Spirit. And so it's really, really concerning. It's really a matter that must be addressed, needs to be addressed. And in terms of persons coming forward, we're still hoping that persons will go to family counselors, there's Family Life Ministry. There are other groups that I believe really can help. Those that are criminal cases, we know the authority that we can report them to.
Pastor Dion Lindo, what is your position here? How do you respond to some of these matters? Because just to repeat a bit of what I had asked Pastor Courtney, how did we get here? You know, in terms of why are these sex scandals, if I could call them that, rocking the clergy, and are churches hiding, or have they been hiding? Has the church been hiding incidences of sexual misconduct, Pastor Lindo? What is your take on all of this?
Thank you. Pleasant morning to everyone. Concerning whether or not the church is hiding, I would not necessarily agree with the fact that the church is hiding these incidents. As Pastor Morrison intimated earlier on, that the church has developed a method of handling these incidents. I don't believe that anybody wins, quote unquote, in that sense, simply because these things are brought out into the light. I don't see any advantage in it necessarily in the treatment with it, if there are other ways that it can be handled, making, of course, the exception for those influences that are criminal, because the law would have to take its course in those situations. I believe that the method of the church in addressing it, we have to be private, and it is not necessarily wrong to deal with it in a private manner, because, as I said earlier on, there's not much to gain in publicizing these things.
Well, you know, sometimes these incidences involve children, and I suppose you would be agreeing, therefore, that when it crosses the line of getting into when it would breach a criminal law, criminal code, then clearly the law takes its course. However, there is a perception that the church sometimes may be trying to cover over these things, even where it doesn't cross that line of getting into the criminal law, and many of the victims themselves may be hurting. But be that as it may, we are upon a break right now. We are going to delve into this a little bit more. Please stay with us, listeners. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Tamba Phoenix Health Complex and Vision Center, located at Main Street, St. Anne's Bay and Champion Plaza Complex, Falmouth. Your eye care center is 7:16 a.m.
Be a part of the I Love Summer Tour. Share something unique about your parish with us here on your family station, Love 101 FM. If you're an advertiser or a small business owner, you need to cash in on the awesome promotional deals available on the I Love Summer Tour. Send your email address and details right now to the I Love Summer Tour at gmail.com. That is the I Love Summer Tour at gmail.com. The tour is going from parish to parish, and we don't want you to be left behind. I love summer. It's time to explore. It's what summer is all about. Send your email address now to the I Love Summer Tour at gmail.com. Brought to you by Love 101 FM, the family station.
The spotlight shines bright on the parish of Westmoreland this week. You don't want to miss all the highlights and short bites. Come and learn all you can about Westmoreland this week in the I Love Summer Tour.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the Main Watch, and we're looking at a very sensitive topic here in the Main Watch. When the church urges those abused by their own to come forward. And to discuss this, we have Pastor Dion Lindo, pastor of Shalom Deliverance Center, Mineral Heights, and Pastor Courtney Morrison, pastor for the Tabernacle, chairman of Magar, Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. And he is also the CEO of the Left, Wrong, Do Right movement. And of course, he is co-host of the Mailbox right here on Love 101 FM. Now, something I want to indicate or share with you just prior to we going further into this discussion, I was speaking with a pastor about this very topic. And he's not a guest this morning on the Morning Watch, was unable to be here. However, he said something which I found very, very interesting. What he indicated is that sometimes, not in every case, but sometimes in some larger denominations, there may be the temptation, or in fact it has occurred, where rather than discipline that pastor or even minister to them in part, because maybe the pastor requires some level of ministry in terms of stemming any proclivity to engage in such activities, what they are sometimes inclined to do is to simply send that pastor to or that priest to another church in its circuit of churches or another parish in terms of, another church elsewhere, in another parish in relation to how their church structure is set up. In other words, the matter isn't really fully dealt with. They simply move the person elsewhere where hopefully they're hoping maybe that not many people know about the incident that occurred elsewhere, and things continue. And unfortunately, that particular pastor or priest may get themselves in trouble again. Pastor Morrison, any comments on that, sir?
Yes, let me comment on that one. That's an interesting scenario. It's not only a practice, it would seem, if it occurs in the church. I'm not aware of churches that occurring, but it may. But we see it happening also in other organizations. And if the person isn't sat with, and it's strange. There was something I was addressing recently that leaders seem not to be able to be open and vulnerable, even to counsel. And a part of that is because we tend to be strong more on punishment. And you use the word instead of ministering to an individual. Let's take, for example, the woman who was caught in adultery, and I can't continue to wonder if it was adultery because it was only the woman that was taken to the middle of the church while Jesus was there. And we are good at showing up persons' sins, and as long as it's not ours. But the matter must still be addressed, I believe, where just as Jesus said to the woman, go thy way and sin no more. He not only addressed that, hey, while others are hitting at you and they themselves may be in a similar position, you still need to address what is happening with you. And as a pastor, I say that we all have our own struggles. I know I'm saying we. And so one of the things that has to happen, who ministers to the minister? Who is he open to? Who is he accountable to? And is that accountability individual someone who is strong enough, clear enough, versed enough in even terms of counseling that will give proper, good, healthy advice as to how to approach the situation instead of merely passing the issue from one location to another. We have to learn how to address those. And as pastors, as men of the cloth, as the clergy member, we too have to be able to find accountability partners. It's something that we stress to our membership, our men especially, yet we ourselves lack that. When we are there busy paying attention to everyone else, we get so caught up that our own demons and our own struggles we fail to address. And if it is that we are addressing individuals, there is a particular scripture, Galatians 6, that says, if a brother is overtaken in a fault, you who are spiritual must restore such a one in the spirit of gentleness. And I think far too often we miss that particular thing that says in the spirit of gentleness. Joseph was about to put away Mary privately when he thought that, it was another man who had impregnated his wife, And so how we must address the situation, that person, I believe, will have to be counseled, will have to be sat down, and based on that, the matter be addressed sincerely, yet gently, because we are, as a church, in the business of restoration. That's what Jesus did, reconciliation. So when we see the clergy acting out of line and doing and having misconduct, we too, those of us who are in the church, must also help to say, how am I going to help this sheep who has fallen ill? The hospital is, the church is seen as a place of perfection, yet I prefer to see it as a hospital. When you get there, you're expecting perfection, but you're going to find that many sick people are there. And that might include the leader. Doctors do get sick as well. And so we have to administer whatever medication is necessary to get persons right. And so it can't be simply a matter of just moving persons from location to location, though. The matter has to be dealt with and spoken to in a matter of seeking restoration and addressing the issue, the abuse, whatever it is, directly, so that it can be dealt with, yet in a matter of love. Criminal issues, we know, again, as we say, those have a particular route for them to be dealt with, molestation of children, whatever it is, but they have a particular route, and we must look at those.
Pastor Dion Lindo, the matter of addressing these ills, some larger denominations, and even maybe some of the smaller church groups, they might be more inclined to move the pastor to another location as opposed to disciplining them or even ministering to them if required. What are your thoughts, madam? Because it appears as if every now and then we see another story in the media. It does look bad, doesn't it, Pastor Lindo? How do you think what is your comment on all of this?
Let me just say this, that when Abraham had gone down to Egypt, he told the ruler there that Sarah was his sister. No,
which, by the way, technically wasn't wrong, you know. It was his half sister.
I'm going to address it. He was in fact telling the truth, but he was being very strategic in what he was saying because he deliberately omitted other vital information. And I use that as an illustration to say that persons may be saying that the church moved the pastor, but it is not done in a wholesale way like that. What they are omitting is the effort that is made to counsel with, mentor with, discipline these individuals before even movements take place. Because we have to remember that the church is an institution of grace and forgiveness and restoration. And so when these individuals fall, the question really is, does it mean that they're absolutely disqualified from serving? You know, or can this sin that they have committed be treated with, and can they still be allowed to serve? Because sometimes we are very unforgiving, and we tend to shoot
Agreed, man.
wounded, you know. But in all of this, there needs to be a balance, because some persons are not really remorseful. The only remorse that they suffer from is that they were discovered.
Yeah.
And that being a given, it has to be dealt with in its context. But there are some persons who are genuinely sorry and who, having been given a chance to serve again, have never committed another misdemeanor in that manner. So it has to be, I believe that each case must be judged on its own merits, but
yes,
we shouldn't take a broad brush and just say that the churches are just moving the pastors around. They have to look at the whole procedure that is taking place to deal with these issues.
I think one of the concerns is that the general public may not know that some of these attempts at reconciliation are being done internally. What they see on the outside is that the pastor was shifted elsewhere. They don't know about all the counseling taking place with the pastor in the background or with the victim.
Right.
So they really are clueless. All they're seeing outside the optics are you shifted the pastor, but that's probably more none of that at another time. We have a few seconds left.
You know, Stokely, that's so true. We're in a season where if David was subject to social media and today's scrutiny, he probably would have been removed from the throne, and there would have been processes that don't see what is happening in the background, and that's so true. Blessings, man. Pastor Linda, I so agree with you.
Pastor Linda, final thought in a second or two.
Yes. The truth is that some persons may think that the church is a place where they can nest and carry out sexual atrocities. You know, because earlier I said that the church is an institution of grace and mercy and forgiveness, and so they believe that maybe it's a good place to operate from. But we, the church, must always flag what is wrong as wrong and what is right as right.
And we have to leave it there this morning because I think we're so out of time. Notwithstanding all of what you said before, at the end of the day, wrong is wrong and right is right. I want to thank Pastor Linda and Pastor Morrison for being with us this morning. Very sensitive topic, but it had to be addressed. We'll be back after we look at the newspaper headlines and check out your answers to the social media question, which is, what would you say accounts for the missteps or misconduct of any pastor? Leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using hashtag The Morning Watch. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
JN Auto Loan, helping you on your journey. Roll out and make a statement in your brand new vehicle.
The time by JN will help you find a way is
7:30.
The first sound they make is to simply let the world know they're here. And then it's our duty to help them show the world why they're here in the first place.
Give them every advantage with the Guardian Achiever, a plan that provides for their educational dreams and protects their health and life in the process. For more information, call 888-4LIFE to speak to an advisor or visit myguardiangroup.com.
This is the soothing sound of your finances being handled by Grace Kennedy Financial Group. And this? It's actually the relaxing noise of your car and home insurance, handled by experts you can trust. Trust Grace Kennedy Financial Group to do your banking, insurance, investments, money services, and more gracefully. Get to know us at GraceKennedyFinancialGroup.com.
When all is done and said, love me shawty bread. You love me shawty what? You love me shawty bread. And it was made by honey bun. You love me shawty bread.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And in the major daily newspapers this morning and other happenings we have here in the Jamaica Observer online news, Prime Minister warns corporal punishment banned. There's another story here. Zoso's extended by 60 more days. And 2 held for murder of little boy and his mom. Many other stories in the Jamaica Observer for you to look at. We now take a look at the Jamaica Gleaner today. We have on the front, well, one of the lead stories in the Jamaica Gleaner online, Prime Minister backs beating ban. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has given the clearest signal that his administration was not afraid to go against the grain of culture and pass legislation to outlaw corporal punishment, and it continues. And there's another story here. Ministry GK collab on insurance for farmers. Fisher's very interesting one there. And a little bit of news here in terms of education. 12-year-old boy teaches teaser's lesson with pep success. That one seems quite interesting. Another one here of some concern. St. James pastor on rape charge gets new court date. That one is of great concern. Those among many other stories in the Gleaner, and of course, listeners can take a look at the Jamaica Observer as well. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is, what would you say accounts for the sex or misconduct of any pastor? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
You worked hard to get where you are. That's one good reason you deserve to roll out in your own vehicle. Get motor vehicle financing fully loaded with benefits, free document renewal, and roadside assistance from JAA. Plus, car loan and insurance payment all in one. It's time to go next level. Get that car you want and roll out with a JN Auto Loan driven by JN Bank, JNGI, and the Jamaica Automobile Association. JN.
We'll help you find a way.
DJ Bounce. Make we rich together with Digicel. Just call 142 or dial star 142 number sign from your prepaid phone for a chance to win your share of $42 million in cash and prizes. Enter to get $500 bonus credit. Smartphone users get 500 megabytes any use data and 1 gigabyte BIP data, while non-smartphone users get 10 minutes and 50 SMS free for Digicel to Digicel calls and texts. Each entry costs $100. From now until September 14th, make we rich together with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Phoenix Health and Vision Center now has 2 locations. St. Anne's Bay, 65 Main Street beside the health center. And now Shop 30 Champion Plaza, Falmouth, Trelawney. You heard me right. Shop 30 Champion Plaza, Falmouth, Trelawney. The only full-service eye care center for all your designer frames and designer glasses. Complete eye care. Book all your appointments now in St. Anne's Bay. Call 876-972-2388. 876-589-8327. For Falmouth and its environs, call this number 876-533-0540. Looking forward to seeing you at both locations. Phoenix Health and Vision Center. Now at Champion Plaza, Falmouth, Trelawney.
Welcome back to Tune Into the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Let's join Neeson for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question.
Well,
what would you say accounts for the sexual misconduct of any pastor? Neeson, any comments?
Indeed, this comment is saying, 1 John 3 explains, he that is born of God does not sin. He that commits a sin is of the devil. Many pastors are trained in theology, but are not saved. They have not received the baptism of the Holy Spirit, so are just acting in the flesh. Hence, they lust and fall into sin. It is a different case from King David. These pastors need deliverance and salvation.
Yes, I'm seeing the comment here too. These pastors need deliverance and salvation. That's what the listener is saying. Any more comments, Neeson?
No,
so far?
Not at the moment. No traffic at the moment.
No more traffic at the moment. Well, this one is quite an interesting one, and
very much so.
I'm sorry, Neeson. Anything else? You're saying something.
I'm saying very much so. This one is very interesting.
Yes, and some listeners may not even agree with what the person says here, but what the person does say here is quite interesting. And it's a matter of great concern, and I do hope and pray. I personally think that some of these pastors probably need a brother or a sister who they can confide in, and who knows, you may even have female pastors who are going through something similar. All pastors need someone who they can be accountable to, I think, my view. So you will have hopefully less of these things. When I was getting ready for this morning, the scripture that came to me was, without holiness, no one will see the Lord. That, I don't know, somehow that one came to me this morning. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. And clearly, much of this sexual misconduct is very unholy. We do pray for these pastors, and we pray for the victims who have suffered at the hands of many of these persons. Well, we go right into the second watch. Different subject here. Now, some event promoters are convinced that their big events, their large events, can happen successfully and safely in the midst of all these restrictions we are currently having to address. And one way, they say, of doing that and paving the way for industries to move forward, some industries or some players in the sector seem to be leaning towards including sections at their events for persons who are vaccinated. So in other words, you would have vaccinated only sections at these events. Now, just that alone seems to be opening up an interesting conversation here. But wouldn't that, for example, mean Jamaica beginning to move in the direction or leaning in the direction of two different sets of persons or two different sets of societies? We have those who take the vaccine or those who decide that they would like to have the vaccine and those who don't. And what would that mean for everyday life for all persons? How could that work? Is that something we should be preparing for in our minds mentally? Or is it just a short-term thing that we are seeing now or that could emerge, but it will not last? We have online this morning to discuss what could be an interesting development. Basil Hanson, he's founder of MTM TV. And I know Mr. Hanson describes himself as a Christian activist. We also have online this morning Mr. Michael Diamond. He is the president of Consumers Intervention Jamaica. Both of them have been guests before on the Morning Watch. Good morning, Mr. Hanson, and good morning, Mr. Diamond.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning, Stokely. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure having both of you. Now, it's an interesting development we're seeing, and I'll preface it by just indicating we already see where some workers in some sectors are being encouraged to be vaccinated. I know a soldier, for example, he has been fully vaccinated. Nurses are being encouraged to be, fully vaccinated, etc. There are some universities overseas, for example. I'm not aware of any here in Jamaica, but I'm aware that in some universities overseas, some of them are requiring persons who are going to be attending on campus to be vaccinated. So we do see movement in a particular direction. And now that we're seeing recent moves in the local entertainment sector in that regard, it begins to raise that concern for some persons. Mr. Hanson, I'm going to start with you, and then Mr. Diamond. Your initial thoughts on this, or is it just something much ado of nothing? We don't need to be thinking about it. What is your thinking?
All right, okay. Thanks again. It's interesting that Christ addressed these issues long time. He says, let the wheat and the tares grow together until the day of harvesting. He's saying that division.
Are you taking that scripture out of context, Mr. Hanson?
No, let me finish. No, he's saying that, boy, Jesus is not about division. He likes unity. And even though you have the wheat and the tares, he says, let them grow together. Because if you try to separate them, you're going to destroy some of the good ones also. And he also says he allowed the rain to fall on the just and on the unjust. He didn't say that, boy, because you're unrighteous, I won't allow no rain to fall on you. He allowed the just and the unjust to receive the rain. Why I started like that is to say that we have been experiencing division in two societies a long time. We have the rich and the poor. So we like status, We like the status of being rich. So when you look on the streets of Jamaica, you see a lot of Mercedes Benz. And you say, wow, why Jamaicans seem to be buying up Mercedes, but they're bringing in them from what, Japan or one of those places where it's much cheaper to own. So it's a cheap look, that look rich. If we like status, I don't think this vaccination and unvaccination can work in a society where you have two societies. We're going to have one society, and we're going to have people respect each other's view and each other's opinion and reasons why some of us can't be vaccinated versus those who are vaccinated. The entertainment sector right now is trying to either force you to do something or trying to make you do something. when they create this two segment.
Are they trying to force, or is it that they're trying to survive and they're thinking that this could be a strategy to do so? But before you comment on that, Mr. Hanson, and we need to bring in, of course, Mr. Diamond. I see that we are upon a break already. So stay with us, listeners. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
It's back and it's bigger than ever. It's the Fostrich Super Summer Sale, Monday, July 19 to 29, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get your project started with amazing deals on electrical lighting, LED bulbs, and more. Stuck in the office? Then shop online. Visit fostrich.com/shop and save. It's the Fostrich Super Summer Sale, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay, July 19 to 29. See you there.
When all is done and said, love me shorty bread. You love me shorty what? You love me shorty bread. And it was made by honey bun. You love me shorty bread.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are looking at a very interesting topic here in the second watch. And our guests in this segment, we have Mr. Basil Hanson as well as Mr. Michael Diamond. In the second watch, we are here looking at, will there be two societies? Those who take the shot and those who don't. Mr. Hanson and Mr. Diamond?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'm still here.
We're making a comment just before the break, Mr. Hanson, but before you continue, I want to add a little bit of context here. There is a July 15th, 2021 Gleaner article that, we looked at before we even decided to consider doing this topic, and it reads, a little bit of it here reads as follows in the Gleaner. And there's a picture of Joseph Bogdanovich. He's well known in entertainment circles, and I'll read a little bit of it here. It says, large event from organizers are returning to the drawing boards to create plans and proposals for parties and concerts with additional health and safety measures. This includes rapid testing services, vaccinated only sections, and controlled exits and entrances for people who are unvaccinated. Several states in the U.S. have put in effect policies that allow for spectator events and even churches to have vaccinated only sections as part of its road to recovery. One of the first events in Jamaica to implement a section specifically for persons who are vaccinated, which allows for separate entrance into the venue once they present their Ministry of Health immunization card and valid identification, was the I Love Soca Cooler Festival. And the story, the report here in the Gleaner continues. Can't read all of it because of time. So it's even, what I found interesting is that it says in the first paragraph, and even churches to have vaccinated only sections as part of its road to recovery. Mr. Hanson, would you like to continue what you were saying, sir? Because I did make the comment before the break that it could be that some of these entertainers and those who organize these events are trying to survive as best as they can, and they're trying to navigate through the raindrops of these restrictions, and that's why they're probably coming up with some of this. Your thoughts, Mr. Hanson?
Well, as I said, totally, these measures, people have choice. People, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, you have a choice to either go to these events and subject yourself to all of these rules and regulations, or you can choose not to go. You can live without these things. And I always say, if people don't go, then these guys won't have anybody at their events. And therefore, these rules and these regulations will be of none effect. They can only say, it's clear where they're going to, because we don't have enough vaccinated people in Jamaica for them to have a vaccinated only. So they have to still piggyback on those who are not vaccinated. But as soon as, just imagine if they get to 70% population vaccination, they will oppress the next 30%. That's what will happen. And the signs are there, and we just need to deal with it.
Why did you say oppress?
That's what will happen. They'll force you to do what you don't want to do, and if you don't do it, you either live or die. That's what it was. Listen, Christ don't talk about these things long time now. We can skip around it and say when it is going to happen. We don't know. But if they manage to vaccinate the 70% that we talk about, herd immunity, they will oppress the next 30%, because then you don't need them. But if you manage to only vaccinate 30%, you need the 70% that is unvaccinated. So you have to still consider that. But if it's the other way around, they'll oppress you. And the sad thing is that, you know, people will have to find ways and means to not be oppressed, find ways to live. For instance, if church ever put that in place, I wouldn't go to church. I wouldn't go. Straight up. I am not going. So I think it's just where we're going. It's just that we don't get there as yet. But this is where we're going.
We need to bring in Mr. Diamond, but just to be clear, you're saying that if a church were to put that in place,
I am not going.
Only you will not attend.
No, I won't. That's my last day going to church. But that don't mean it's my last day with Christ. It's just that I won't go to that system.
We need to bring in Mr. Diamond. I didn't want to cut you off, but we need to bring in Mr. Diamond, because all the views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM. Mr. Diamond, we have not forgotten you, sir. And you have heard what Mr. Hanson has said. You would have heard a bit of the article that I did read. And by the way, the author of that article is Stephanie Leao of the Gleaner. Your thoughts, Mr. Diamond. What is your take on this? I think I have a sense as to what you may be saying. I did see a little bit of your comment prior to the show. For the benefit of the listeners, would you like to develop on your thoughts on the matter, sir?
Are you hearing me clearly?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm hearing you clearly. I'm hearing.
Okay, good morning, guys. All right. Really, there is significant reason to have concerns about the whole discrimination, and I wouldn't go as far as saying oppression of the 30% that would possibly be remaining.
But you are saying discrimination, but that's also a strong word to use. But continue, sir.
Yes, because the discrimination can certainly happen on different levels, but oppression is really truly a policy and system in place to make sure that, you know, you treat those who are unvaccinated a certain way. But the reality of it is that our discussion really is around individuals who are seeking to make a profit and not simply looking to extend the cause for vaccination. And people will see that. It's not really the people they're concerned about, it's actually the money. And what has happened since the very beginning is that there's been poor information, poor education, and really and truly a really sloppy job of getting the general public properly prepared for what is ahead or what is actually happening right now. Because many individuals can hear that the CDC, the WHO have given suggestions and instructions, but these are not mandatory to any country, right? So the countries themselves have to do and put the policies in place that will assist with the current situation regionally and globally. So what we have here in Jamaica, a population of estimated 3 million, attempting to do the same protocols as a population of 400 million, we're going to have issues. We're going to have issues because it's not meshing properly with how we are as a society. So the idea of two societies coexisting in Jamaica, we don't have the population to really see that develop properly. But what we do have is that we have this mistrust of each other. We have a mistrust of government. So we will never reach that point that there will be so many vaccinated that we can have two societies. What we actually have is an entire population that is underinformed regarding this situation as it is. And these type of events, these type of circumstances that wants to create these VIP sections for those who can show a vaccination card, would only do more to drive that distrust. So I'm not in favor of anything that does that without some type of we need to have a product that actually goes more to increasing the information regarding vaccination rather than creating this segmentation of distrust and ignorance that basically is going to put us right back at square one.
Well, Mr. Diamond, it's interesting that you said that. So is it that you're saying when you say the population of Jamaica being only 3 million, I'm trying to understand what you mean. You're thinking that our society, to use a term, our society is too small and intimate for that sort of division to occur. Is that what you mean?
Absolutely, in the sense that it would almost appear that we have taken the approach of populations of 400 million and the approach that they're taking for their citizens and attempting to mesh it with only 3 million individuals. With only 3 million individuals in Jamaica, we should have done a better job of education and preparation, because what has happened is that we have seen where individuals are saying, and they're justified, that their opinion that they do not want to be vaccinated. Worst of all, it is not compulsory. So they have suspicions. We have seen licensed medical practitioners speaking out against the vaccine. So we have this divide in the authority giving this information. So the idea of having, given the leverage to say, well, you can keep your entertainment and you are able to set these protocols, it is unrealistic. And of course, it all falls back on personal responsibility. If you do not want to be subjected to it, then you don't attend. I do agree with that. And also the mere fact of it that these same authorities are saying, even if you're fully vaccinated, you should still maintain the protocols of mask wearing and social distancing, then we have an issue. So that issue is that this would be an unreasonable intrusion upon individuals' personal space if we attempt to do the whole idea of separation. So again, it all comes down to, are we doing this for the people or are we doing this for the profits? And oftentimes we put profits over people, and this is why we are where we are today. Because imagine that schools are getting ready to reopen, and the biggest focus right now is how we can have these entertaining events, which entertainment is not mandatory. It is not necessary for your development as an individual. So we need to focus on our priorities and see where we can actually get more of this vaccination information shared, rather than simply saying, hey, listen, we're going to do some separation, because if you're not fully vaccinated, then you're going to be subjected to being the back of the line, the worst spot in the particular venue. These things are matters that doesn't help our cause any.
Suppose it were a gospel concert. Should there be a vaccinated only section versus an unvaccinated only section? Your thoughts, Mr. Diamond, and then Mr. Hanson.
It would be very interesting, because there's also a religious perspective regarding vaccination, and as you heard before, that once that is being implemented or suggested, many individuals will not participate. So the idea of it is that based upon an individual personal religious views, that could be something that, again, it takes away from the message of what the concert should have delivered, because you may not have full participation.
Very interesting. What if we're a gospel concert, Mr. Hanson? Your thoughts?
It's the same thing. I believe that people have choice, and if your conscience would not give you the freedom to support such an event, then you won't. And as I said, the good thing about this, you don't need to go to a concert or a party to live. Those things are entertainment. You can choose to find other entertainment. I personally believe you're right, sir. 400 million versus 3 million is difficult. If you get half of your population vaccinated and you want to have an all vaccinated event, you will operate at a deficit. You will always lose because you won't have the full support. So I think we have to find a way to allow the rain to fall on the just and on the unjust.
I think we're totally out of time. I want to thank both of you, Mr. Hanson and Mr. Diamond. Mr. Diamond, so sorry that you only got a little bit less time than Mr. Hanson to speak. Mr. Hanson, you do take a while to make your point, sir, but I didn't want to interrupt you when you were speaking. I want to thank both of you for speaking. Thank you both for your contributions and for your time. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today to stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guest. I am Brooklyn Marshall, hanging back up in the morning with Neeson. Have a good day.
Hey, thanks, Stokely, taking your time to be a minute moving down.